All right, so we're working on the spoon today. We have cerulean blue, burnt umber, titanium buff, and titanium white. I'm going to start with a round brush. I'm going to use a round brush. So I'm just going to paint what I see. Okay, I'm just going to paint exactly what I see here. This is a way to get it looking like a spoon, is just to paint what you see. So I'm going to start with titanium buff, maybe with a little bit of white in it. That's good. All right. I was going to start with this part. More titanium buff, less white. I have to be careful because I don't want to change this shape of the spoon when I put the paint on. On this titanium buff, if you look carefully, you will see there's kind of a reflection over here, a very subtle one on this side. And also, it's not one color. There's a variation in the color, a bit of variation. So I'm going to take a bit of burnt umber and put burnt umber here with titanium buff. All right, so I'm mixing burnt umber with titanium buff. And I'm going to do this kind of subtle, very subtle reflection in here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to zoom in.
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, that's better. Then you can see now the subtle kind of change of color in here from the titanium buff into the burnt umber mixed with titanium buff. There's a little bit of a very stubborn patch here. I can't cover it. It's okay. I'll wait for it to dry and then I'll put another layer over it. All right. And then now I'm going to take, you don't need to clean your brush. Take burnt umber, titanium buff, a little bit of blue, put it in. Keeping in mind that this is going to dry darker. And I'm going to come here, put this in here. I'm going to wet the tip of my brush. And if it dries really dark, I'm going to wait for it to dry anyway. It's okay. I will adjust the value. I'm going to take a little bit of titanium buff, mix it with the color I just used, because I want to kind of soften the transition soften the edge. I'm going to take again the same color, push it in, and that will give me a really soft transition between these two colors. I'm using a round brush and I'm using the tip of my brush. This is the same color. I see the same color on the handle. So I'm going to try to do that. Burnt umber, a little bit of cerulean blue, and titanium buff. Let's take a little bit more of the burnt umber. This is kind of, we have to pay attention to values here. So when I dip my brush in water, I dip just the tip of the brush, not the whole brush. All right, let's take that. Let's put this color in here.
The color is gray or blue gray?
It's more like a brown gray.
Oh, okay.
Brown. So you see now it's really dark. I'm going to highlight it a bit with titanium buff. Soften it a bit. It's very harsh. It's harsh because it's by itself as well. So once we start putting other colors in there, it will look better. Now, even in that, on the handle, there are two kinds of colors in there. We have a lighter and a darker, two values, a lighter shade and a darker shade. See, this is now very, like, a bit too dark in here, that one, but that's okay. I'm just going to wait. All right. I'm just going to soften this with the same color, but with a bit more of the titanium buff in there. And take more titanium buff now. Put it here. And now a bit of white in the titanium buff. And I'm going to put it here. So I have 1, 2, 3. This is a little bit dark right now. Again, all right, I'm going to soften this. It's drying dark. Okay. Also, this one here. A little bit of... Actually, I'm going to wait for this until I put the darker color. All right, I'm going to pause a bit. Okay, so now let's take cerulean blue, burnt umber, mix it together, and let's keep it more on the burnt umber side. I'm gonna put some water in here, and that will make it more kind of easier to spread. We have two values in there, in that little, and I'll show you in a minute. So we're going to start with, clean my brush. We're going to start from here. You know what? It might need a bit of, titanium buff. This is too dark. It's going to look really dark if we don't put titanium buff in there. Let's put titanium buff. Yeah, it should look more gray, like more on the gray side. Okay. I'm removing some of it because it was a bit too much. Because I had too much paint on my brush. Sorry, I'm just going to fix that part because it's easier for me to see what I'm doing if I fix it. Okay, that's good. All right, that's clean now. All right, we're going to go back, pick up this grayish, brownish color. Cerulean blue is what's making it brown, gray, sorry, gray. Okay, clean again. All right. And now I'm going to take a very thin line, connect it with this here. Cool. Now I can adjust my value from a grayish into a little bit of a darker color here in this area, and a little bit more blue in here. Okay, now let's keep going. I'm watching while I'm doing this. I am looking at the reference.
The reference?
Mm-hmm. And
it looks awesome.
Huh?
It's looking really nice.
Oh, wait until we put the reflection. It will look even better. So now I'm going to stop there. Cerulean blue, brown, put them together, dark. So we want a dark color now, because this is where it's starting to it's starting to get a little bit darker now here. Just here where the handle goes up. All right, good. Let's do that. It's so nice when it works, when you put the color and you see like, it's working, it looks so good. All right, and then I'm going to now take a little bit of titanium buff, and then just go in. Okay. All right, now let's drag this with more blue. So we're going to take more blue into this color, the brown that I'm using, with the bit of titanium buff. So we want to see more blue now in this mixture. And we're going to take this color, and if you don't see the blue, then stop and add more blue so you can see it. I'm going to take it, and I think it might be a little bit too dark. It should look gray. Let's see. Let's just drag it. And for this color to look gray, you can put titanium buff in it. The blue will make it look gray. Blue and mixed with brown. So the higher I go up with this, the more gray I want to see in there. Blue-gray.
Are you taping?
Yes, I am. Do you want to say something?
Mm-mm.
You sure?
I just want to make sure it's on tape if I decide to do this over the holidays.
Oh, yes, okay. It is. I am taping. All right, more titanium buff. Actually, you know what? I might go with more titanium buff and brown. And I'm going to do this. Oh. More. I can always go back and adjust my highlights. So I'm not worried right now. Even if it's dark, it doesn't matter. Actually, it's all dark right now. So, but it's okay. We're going to highlight very soon. We start highlighting and adjusting all of this. I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to pause for a minute, let it dry, and we'll come back to it, and then we start adding more highlights and adjust the values. All right, so now we can kind of highlight a bit. I'm going to take titanium buff, put a bit of burnt umber in it, touch of burnt umber, not too much, a little bit of blue, just to get it to get that kind of a grayish, brownish color. And I'm going to go over here, this part, this highlighted part here. See which one is right there. And I'm going to take a little bit of white now. Don't clean your brush. Just go over it with a bit of white. And put another line here. More white, touch of white, and a reflection right there. And that's what makes it look really nice. It's the reflections, light reflection. Okay, now there's another one, another reflection, and it's kind of, I would say, a light titanium buff. So titanium buff with white. I haven't cleaned my brush. I'm just adding a little bit more white now into the mixture. Okay, and I'll move this a bit. Needs water. Okay, a little bit of, again, reflection on the side, titanium buff, bit of white. Just keep going. Keep going. Go all the way. All the way. Turns a bit. Oh, that's too much. It's okay because I'm going to, anyway, I need to highlight a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more white. Sorry, it's on the side. So I'm adding a little bit more white now. And I'm going to highlight this part with more white. I'll wait for it to dry, and if it needs more highlights, then I'll do that. Now I need to glaze this because it's flat. So I'm going to take brown, mix it with titanium buff, touch of blue, and put water on this just to make it more like a glaze. And then we're going to go over. Let's see. Yep, that's a good color.
Can you repeat them, please?
Sure. Brown, titanium buff, touch of blue, water. Now, same, blue, burnt umber. More on the blue side. Clean my brush. And just here. I'm just adjusting the values because when it dries, when the acrylic dries, it just dries in a funny way sometimes. So it might dry too dark. Most of the time it dries too dark. So all I'm doing right now is just kind of adjusting the values where I can see that it needs to be adjusted. It's very hard to do this kind of painting with acrylics. It's easier with oil. Much easier with oil. But we can do it. So to make it look more on the grayish side, you need to add the more blue into the mixture of blue and brown and titanium buff. So if you can see the blue more, that gives you the grayish. See that now it's drying really dark. So I'm just adjusting it. I'm just taking more of the titanium buff and blue with brown, but more of blue, and adding a little bit of more of a highlight. I'm sorry, I have to turn it around this way so I can get the shape. Okay. Let's highlight a little bit with titanium buff and gray. This part. It's good. It's looking good. All right. I'm going to take white now. And again, apologies. I have to turn it around. Get this a little bit like that. And this. All right. Good. Now, I'm going to take titanium buff and white. Only titanium buff and white. And I'm going to highlight negative painting now, right here. More titanium buff.
And white?
And yes. Yes. But the more I go to this side out, the more titanium buff I put, less white. Just titanium buff. Okay. Shall I pause for a minute so you can?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I have a question.
All right. So now I have brown, burnt umber, a little bit of blue in it, and titanium buff. I'm going to come here, and this is the spoon right there. I can see this part right here is tiny bit kind of lighter in shadow. So I'm going to do that because that's what makes it look really interesting. All of this variation in shadows and reflections. Otherwise, it's not going to look like a spoon. Okay, now one more thing. I'm going to take more umber to this, mix it in the same mixture and water. And then I'm going to come here and darken this one more time. Go over this part. So I have a little bit of more of a, I would say, kind of a bit lighter and more grayish part here. And I'm going to do it again one more time because you know with acrylics it's drying darker. So I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to take Cerulean Blue. Actually, I'm going to clean my brush, pick up Cerulean Blue only, nothing else, just Cerulean Blue. And I'm going to put Cerulean Blue in here. I might need a little bit of white actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Really neat.
Wash my brush and let's pick up some white, pure white. Now, white and titanium buff. More titanium buff than white. Just gonna the more little reflections we put, the nicer it looks. And one more. I lost some of the highlighted part of this here. I'm going to put it back with titanium buff and white. And we're going to leave it at that. white, pure white touch, because it's drying darker. I just want this strong reflection to show. Again, it's drying darker. That's why I am adjusting right now. This is white and brown. And I'm just going to come here and add a tiny bit of, reflection here. Brown, burnt umber, just burnt umber. It's going to dry too dark, so I'm going to put a bit of titanium buff in it, in the burnt umber. Titanium buff, just titanium buff, nothing else. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a bit of brown in it, tiny bit, in this titanium buff. Okay. Okay. I think we're okay. Oh, one more. Titanium buff. And you can see even here, there's kind of a bit of kind of reflections of the spoon, a little bit of white reflection of the porcelain. So if I take titanium buff with a bit of just titanium buff and make it more into a glaze, water, titanium buff, wipe my brush. I'm just going to put a couple and see if a couple of lines. It gives a beautiful reflection in here, so it doesn't look too flat. What else can we put? Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's keep it at that. There's a lot more reflection in here, but we don't have to do this. All right, looks good.
You have time for the next project?
Yes, we have time. We'll choose the next project right now. I'm going to pause. Okay, next week we will work on some more of the coffee part. Spoon is done.